Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Ozanga. Here's what's coming up on the program. Federal government insists it's going on with the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Mega Road project as government reserves irrevocable right to the shoreline following calls for consideration over businesses that may be affected. Africa's richest man and chairman of Dangote Group shares similar sentiments with Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki that Nigeria's economic outlook will be better as the country has gone through some of its worst moments. And those are some of the many things we've been looking at as we track the polity today on the program. I want to wish you a very happy holiday. But as you enjoy your holidays, let's fill you in on some of the development in the polity. And the latest is the federal government maintaining that the 700-kilometer Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road will go on as planned, despite calls for consideration given some of the businesses that may be affected, especially in the Lagos axis of the ambitious project. The government maintains that it has an irrevocable right along the shoreline as enshrined in extant laws. The Minister of Works, Mr. Dave Umahi, who gave a hint during our breakfast program, The Morning Brief, also explains how the project will gulp a tentative estimate of 15 trillion naira to be completed in about 8 years.
You can. We know it's tentative. That's okay. 4.39.
Multiply 4 by 5.
Times 5? Okay.
Yes. You get about 20, is it correct?
21.95.
Yeah, multiply by 700.
Times
you get about 14 trillion.
700.
Yes.
That's 15.3 trillion.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister knows his math. So it's going to cost 15.365 trillion.
Let me explain. Okay. It's going to be a tentative figure.
Okay.
When we pass through, a section that is, what is costing a lot of money is the self-filling. And I'm very proud of this figure. I'm very proud of the cost. I'm very proud that I did a very good job. And it's something that years after, I would have left, this office, I will be able to defend it. The Supreme Court latest judgment on who owns the shoreline is also very clear. That the shoreline from the point, of the shore to 250 meters belongs to the federal government. I don't want to get into that because, my concern is to pass the coastal route. So he's losing no job, no employment is lost. And so I've also given him an idea as an engineer on what he should do when we pass our coastal route. But it's irrevocable. We are not going out of the place. The act is very clear, and the Supreme Court latest judgment on who owns the shoreline is also very clear. That the shoreline from the point, of the shore to 250 meters belongs to the federal government. So what my ministry has done is to save a lot of infrastructure along that corridor. Our corridor design width of the road is 100 meters. 100 meters. It's 10 lanes with 25 meters space at the middle for train. And so, but when we got to that point to save the infrastructure, we reduced the corridor to 50 meters.
All right, so those are the explanations from the Honorable Minister of Works, who was on the program this morning, the morning brief, explaining the cost as well as the estimates in terms of cost and time it will take to complete that very ambitious dual carriage road called the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. In the meantime, the chairman of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, is optimistic that the inflation figures for next month will be in the positive. Last month, it should be in the positive territory as it commends the progress in the nation's economic outlook. Africa's richest man shared his views after meeting with the president, Bola Tinubu, in Lagos, where he pointed to the improvement in the Naira exchange and the reduction in the pump price of diesel by Dangote Petroleum, which has contributed to the improvement in the economy.
One of the major issues that we've had was the Naira devaluation that has gone very aggressive up to about 1,900, but right now we're back to almost 1,250, 1,300, which is a good, reprieve, and you can see quite a lot of things have actually gone. Even people now, when you go to the market, for example, something that we produce locally, like A4 or whatever, people will charge you more. Why? Because they are paying very high prices on diesel. And what we did, for example, in our refinery, we started selling even diesel at about 1,200 for 1,650. But that can help quite a lot, because if you are transporting locally produced goods, rice and other stuff, you are paying 1,650. Now you are paying 2/3 of that amount to 1,200. It's a lot of difference. People don't know. That can actually help to bring inflation down immediately. And I'm sure when the inflation figures are out for the next month, you see that there's quite a lot of improvement in the inflation, rate. So step at a time, and I'm sure, the government is working round the clock to make sure that things get much better, because it is in their own interest. It's in the interest of everybody for Nigerians to get things better.
Now, a similar sentiment for a bright future is shared by the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, who believes Nigeria will bounce back from its current hardship, having gone through more difficult conditions, in his view, in the past, including the COVID-19 pandemic. He called on Nigerians to continue to be steadfast in prayers for the turnaround of the current economic crisis facing the country. Mr. Obaseki gave the encouragement in his address at the government house, where he played host to the Muslim faithful on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr celebration marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan.
As a government, that things are very, very difficult for citizens. But we will continue to pray that even these tough and turbulent times will pass. We have gone through more difficult times. I remember during COVID and how we had to manage during that period to stay alive. These two will not be different. As government, we believe that we must work very closely with religious bodies. Because as I continue to say, how many people can come to me in government house? How many people do I know personally that have not eaten today or are very sick and need medical treatment? But when citizens are in distress and in despair, they go to the mosques, they go to their churches to seek for help. So the religious bodies know and deal with a lot of issues relating to citizens. That's why, as government, I believe very strongly that we must cooperate with the religious bodies.
And so those are the messages and the optimism being shared by Africa's richest man, of course, the governor of Edo State, whom we just heard from. But let's move on now to other stories. Now, 16 aspirants jostling for the governorship ticket of the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State ahead of the April 2024 primary will be undergoing screening tomorrow, Friday, April the 12th. The two-day screening earlier scheduled to commence today was postponed because of the extension of the Eid al-Fitr holiday by the federal government. It is reported that the two-day screening to be held at the party secretariat in Abuja will commence shortly after the inauguration of a 7-member Ondo Governorship Screening Committee and another 5-man screening appeal committee by the National Working Committee of the APC. The Governorship Screening Committee is expected to be chaired by the former Deputy Governor of Gombe State, Senator Joshua Lidani, while the former member of the House of Representatives, Bimbo Daramola, has been selected as secretary. While the 5-man screening appeal committee will be chaired by the senator representing Kogi Central District, Senator Oseni Yakubu. And that is going to be the focus of our conversation. So in about, say, 24 hours, 19 individuals, 16, I should say, individuals will be screened at the party secretariat, that's the APC party secretariat, to find out whether or not they will qualify to stand that election on April the 20th. But there's a lot that's been happening in Ondo State, all the way down even before the late Rotimi Akeredolu died, and after he died, there has been all kinds of political development. In fact, twice, the president had to intervene. And we've been joined on the program to look at the politics of Ondo State, as well, especially as it concerns the All Progressives Congress, by public affairs analyst Mr. Jide Ojo, who joins us via Zoom. Mr. Ojo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure, Geoffrey. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, Mr. Ojo. So, naturally, when it comes to an incumbent seeking re-election, naturally, in politics, there is this convention of right of first refusal. Why is that not obtainable with the Lucky Aiyedatiwa's case, in your view?
Well, I don't know about this right of first refusal, but history serves us to remind us that oftentimes, whether you are an incumbent or you are a former governor, you want to contest, there are usually co-contestants or co-aspirants, as it was. So it's not as if the governor has been schemed out, as we had in the case of Edo State in 2020, when APC screened out its own governor, sitting governor, and said his academic credential is suspect. And he took the University of Ibadan to write to the APC leadership to clear Governor Godwin Obaseki of any allegation of academic fraud. But you know what came out of that? Eventually, reluctantly, Godwin Obaseki had to leave APC to join the PDP. And so there are only two instances I can remember where the incumbent was not given opportunity to contest. I think the first one was under PDP in Anambra, where the former Anambra's Mbadiniju, former governor of Anambra State, was not fielded by PDP for re-election in 2003 because of his supposed wolf performance. And he has to hide. He was given ticket by Alliance for Democracy, but he lost that election. The second one is the Godwin Obaseki's case that I just highlighted. So the right of first refusal, as it were, has not been denied Lucky Aiyedatiwa. So all the intrigues that you see playing out is normal in politics. There are 16 of them, but though there are 16, there are what we call in political circles the contenders and the pretenders. And majority of those 16 are actually pretenders. Only very few contenders are jostling for that seat.
So basically, it's like, for them, it's like a bargaining chip for visibility. That's what you're alluding. But the reason I asked that particular question is that the Aborigines and a set of elders in the APC had actually done what you call a pre-screening that pruned down to about 10, and then it came down to about 3. And that 3, Jimo Ibrahim, the senator, was not included. It was Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, Wale Akinteriwa, who the former finance minister, and senior advocate of Nigeria, Lushala Oke, who were in the last 3 before they now endorsed Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa. And of course, they did not agree with all of the decisions, which is why I'm asking that question about why he was not just allowed to continue with this. But let's go back to something you raised. Yesterday, I had a conversation with 2 legal practitioners on different sides of the divide that had to do with the academic credentials of the governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, that has to do with Ikosi High School. They said the school was founded in 1980. Say got his WAEC in 1982, and then the school actually had, the WAEC accreditation in 1985. So there's been a back and forth even with the police and all of this. But the Aborigine had said that one of the first things they looked at was academic credential in the line of qualifications they sought for who they will endorse. What do you make of this very situation?
Well, the Aborigines are just a kind of political association or movement, and they have their own vested interest. They have endorsed the incumbent Governor Loki Aiyedatiwa. As per the controversy about the credentials of the governor, it's neither here nor there, given the fact that he actually ran with Governor Rotimi Akeredolu in 2020. In 2020, and no eyebrow was raised about his credentials, and so there was nothing like the Bayelsa case. And this time around, what we need to understand is that when you look at academic credentials, the Constitution has so bastardized the academic credentials that is needed that all you need to contest election to any position in Nigeria, in truth and indeed, is just ability to read and write. You don't even have to pass. I've read Ebolu Adegboruwa's position in the Punch a few days ago, where he published what he found. The governor had 2 P8, English and one other subject, had 2 or 3 credits, nothing to write home about. But be that as it may, when it comes to political contestation, if you read together the provision of the Constitution that speaks to academic qualification for any elective office in Nigeria, what it boils down to in the final analysis is ability to read and write to the satisfaction of INEC. So if you go to Islamia, if you go to Bible College, if you have S75, what we call S75 in those days, when you drop out at Form 4, if you have what's it called, primary school living certificate, they all qualify you to contest election. Did you know that Ogbeni Ralph Aregbesola allegedly was rusticated from Ibadan Polytechnic, where he was studying one of the engineering courses? And I think when issues around his academic credentials was generating a lot of controversy, he decided to just put in his WAEC level, and that silenced all his opposition. So this all, I know, it all depends on what the governor will file this time around. Now he knows his traducers are waiting for him. They are relying on whatever he filed in 2020 when he ran with Rotimi Akeredolu. If he knows he has issues with his academic credentials, he needs to seek sound legal advice and just put in his primary school living certificate. Because I tell you for free, nobody will be able to challenge him on the basis of that. Look at how Mr. President Bola Tinubu's academic credentials became an issue in the 2023 election. Look at how the academic credentials of former President Muhammadu Buhari became an issue in 2015. It has always been like that across several states, across several jurisdictions. We have always had this issue of academic fraud allegations. But while I'm not in a position to oppose or defend those who are contending the authenticity or veracity of the academic credentials of some of these politicians, what I'm saying is that when you have an holistic view of all the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria says that you need to have to contest election, it comes down to ability to read and write to the satisfaction of INEC. So you don't need to even have any certificate.
Yeah, I remember at some point you can see in the laws that just a proof that you went to school, attendance is enough. Even if you have F9, it's inconsequential.
That's what I'm saying. That's part of what I'm saying. Ability to read and write.
So let's dig further as much as time will allow us into what may possibly be the scenario, what will play out among these 16 people. But of concern, everybody is, with all sense of respect, has a right to vie for office. But Olusola Oke his people had made comments like, before even Governor Ayedatiwa made any move to seek for office, even Mr. Olusola Oke had reached out to him and the late Arakunrin to say, look, at some point I'm going to run for office, which is why they are holding sway and all of that. And the issue of succession, whether Arakunrin wanted Akinteriwa or any other person, what kind of house do you think that the APC will be getting into this election after April 20th, when the primaries will hold?
Well, Geoffrey, what you need to understand is that politics is a game of dispute, contestation, and you cannot run away from rancor, from conflict, from dispute, from disagreement when you are a politician. It's the ability to resolve the fallout of that, whatever rancor that happens. Look at ahead of the Edo governorship primaries around February this year. You are very much aware how it also panned out that when first we had the pre-selection, pre-screening of candidates in Edo State,
which
where
never
APC exclude. APC pre-screened some people, disqualified them. At the end of the day, it didn't work. And when they had their primary, you remember there were about 3 or 4 candidates that were parading themselves as being the authentic candidate of APC. But eventually, the national leadership of APC was able to bring all the fielding parties together. Monday Okpobolo, Senator Monday Okpobolo, that was declared winner, was able to reach out to his brother contestants. And one of them, I think Dennis Idahosa, who was initially announced as the winner of that primary, was appointed as the running mate to Monday Okpobolo. And that silenced every grouse and grievances within the APC fold in Edo State.
Mr. Ojo, just a button. It hasn't, the reason that's why I asked that question, it hasn't totally silenced because Anemero Dekeri, whom we don't know who declared him winner, at least we can say who declared what winner between Dennis and Okpebolo, but we really didn't see where the declaration was made by for Dekeri, who is from Edo North, is in court, challenging the candidacy of Monday Okpebolo, which is why I'm asking this premise, because you have strong persons like Olusola Oke and Wale Akinteriwa who really want this job.
Can I say this to you?
Yeah.
I said earlier on, in politics, there are contestants and there are pretenders. Contenders and pretenders. See, it's all about negotiation. If Dennis Idahosa did not contest, how will he have ended up being the running mate to Okpobolo? So, the Dekeri guy is also looking for a kind of settlement. Maybe they will promise him SSG. Maybe they will promise him chief of staff. He's looking for something, a form of settlement. And that is legit. That's legit in politics. We run what is called pork barrel political system in most democracies. It's about rub my back, I rub your back. So all of them, the reason why they paid that huge sums of money, remember, the APC nomination form is 50 million. That's if they have not increased it. The reason why they will cover that kind of money that is enough to build a modest bungalow or a story building is because they see it as an investment. So nobody in that contest will want to go home empty-handed. So it's either you promise them that if you win, you are going to get contract, or you are going to get appointment, or you are going to get one thing or the other to offset whatever you have invested in your political journey. So that's why you see all of these disagreements, including suit court cases. In many instances, court has ruled that it is the person whom the party says is the candidate that is the candidate.
Yeah.
Remember the whole argument of 2023, the lead up to 2023 general elections, and how many suits were filed, over 1,000 of them. At the end of the day, many of them ended up licking their wounds because the court agreed up to Supreme Court that it is the party that determines who the candidate of that party is.
All right, Mr. Ojo, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this politics. But tomorrow, as you said, after tomorrow and the days after, we'll find out who are the real contenders and the pretenders. It will be very clear to every one of us at the end of the day. I must thank you so much, Mr. Diri Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst, for always coming through whenever we call you. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure. Happy holidays. Stay safe. Keep safe.
Wish you the same.
Yeah.
So other stories now. Governor Bayelsa State is asking Nigerians to support the administration of President Bola Tinubu in order for him to succeed. He made the appeal when he hosted members of the Muslim community in Bayelsa as part of the Eid al-Fitr celebrations. Senator Diri assures the Muslim community of his resolve to promote peaceful coexistence and religious harmony in the state. Let's talk legal matters now. Not less than 5 firms have been linked to the former governor of the central bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, in the latest 26-count charge of alleged fraud and corruption filed against him by the EFCC. At least 4 of the firms have Lagos addresses. They are NIPCO PLC, Source Computer Limited, Limelight Multidimensional Services Limited, and Comex Support Services Limited. The 5th firm, whose registered address could not be verified, is Atswin Resources Solution Limited. The EFCC had on Monday, April the 8th, arraigned Mr. Emefiele before the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja. He pleaded not guilty to the charge, which marked the beginning of the second fraud and corruption case filed against him by the EFCC since his indictment by a special investigator engaged by the president to investigate the activities of the CBN under his watch. And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and, of course, your usual company. Wish you happy holidays. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics.